Hello everyone, and we're here today to talk about how we do real estate transactions in TE properties. Okay, we have our own special way of doing these transactions, which we've patented, called the early adjustable reservations of properties. Okay, now the background, the reason why we're doing this video is that we got a few calls from a few clients that wanted to know exactly how we do these transactions, and is it possible really for someone to make 100% profit in a real estate transaction. And what they've known all through their lives is that the average that someone makes in a real estate transaction is about 5%, 12% per year growth. Even if you had to buy a piece of land and develop that property, in some jurisdictions they won't even make 20%, but in some countries you do actually can make 50% and above, where you buy a piece of land, develop that property and sell it off. Now this program is not about buying land and doing the development, the brick and mortar development the whole way. This is about investing in a development that another developer is doing and actually making 100% profit. Now, I'm going to scratch on the board and do some illustrations on how we do it and how we make it 100%. Now, that 100% is basically gross. You could do this yourself, you could do this as a group, you could do this through TE properties, but today, this video is going to help some developers out there. Yes, developers, because there are developers that sometimes struggle to get the project off the ground. And part of what I'll be describing here today can help a developer quicken the process of getting their development underway. You see, there are many ways to make money in the real estate industry. Okay? Now, the program that we're involved in is sometimes misconstrued by many to think that we're actually going to look for a piece of land, do the brick and mortar, and finish off a big housing estate, then sell it off. But no, I'm here to correct that. That's not the way we do these transactions that I'm going to show you. Of course, there are several other ways in which we make money in TE properties, or we're going to be making money in TE properties that are away from what I'm going to show you. This is just one avenue, and you can learn something from here today and actually do it yourself. Now, what we do, we go out and look for developers that have reputation in the market that they operate in, that are looking for sales. Sales mainly off-plan sales, and that is what we go for. We look for developments or projects that are selling off-plan. So in other words, there's nothing to it in terms of any physical building that you can see. You're actually just buying off a plan of a development that hasn't taken off. Now, it does take a bit of imagination, because most people can only buy into real estate when they can actually see a wall and some brick and mortar and some keys to a door. Then to them, that is a real estate transaction. But no, you can do real estate transactions even without the brick and mortar. So what we do, we go out looking for real estate developers in jurisdictions that have easier laws and easier ways, and have the momentum in terms of investors to quicken the turnaround time of doing a transaction like I'm going to show you. And one such jurisdiction that you can do this is in the UAE, in Dubai. So this is what happens. We go and look for a developer that, perhaps this is just an illustration, wants to put up maybe a development with 200, maybe 150, sometimes 300 units. It could be in a high-rise apartment. This could be standalone units. This is just an illustration here. It could be a multi-use facility. The variations are many. So this is just an illustration. So imagine these are housing units that the developer is going to build at some point. Now, what the developer does, he's probably secured the land. in an option agreement. It's not mandatory for the developer to start the development by going to secure land and then getting it to title. You know, most people, that's the only way they know how to do a development. But you can do this with just securing land with an option agreement, okay? There's a way to draft those agreements. That's another video we're going to do another day. But anyway, you can do that. Find a piece of land that someone's selling, or it's a joint venture, get an option agreement done. That's the best route I would recommend to any developer. And get a team of professionals to do your architecture designs, stormwater, and, you know, all those designs, mechanical engineering, electrical, and all that. Now, once all those drawings are done, the developer usually goes to look out for an agent that will sell the properties off plan. And so they put up an artistic impression or some kind of a map illustrating how the development will look like. And so the folks out there, real estate investors, will start buying property off plan, okay, just by looking at a picture. So there isn't a real physical property standing somewhere. So this is what we do ourselves. We go and look out for a developer like that. Those developers, and if you're a developer, they look out for companies such as ourselves. Why? And I'll explain today. Most developers, when they start a project like this, they're looking for capital to actually do that development. They're looking for funds, okay? They probably have, in some cases, only 20% of what is required to put up a development like that. In some cases, only 10%, quite frankly. But anyway, they probably have about 20%. And so they're looking to sell some units off plan and raise some kind of money, all right? And also looking, that the reason why they'll probably start selling off plan is because they also want to demonstrate to banks and other financial institutions that might be interested in funding them that they've got enough sales that an investor that puts in money will consider the project to be less risky because it has enough sales to cover a big chunk of the money that they're going to lend out, all right? And so that is the reason why developers will go out and do most of the sales off plan. It's a no-brainer. Needless to say, some of those funds are then used to kickstart the project in terms of mobilization and groundbreaking. So in this case, I'll show you how we'll typically do a project like this. We'll probably go and secure a transaction on that property, maybe that, and so on and so forth, because we usually would do bulk buying, all right? But I'm going to illustrate on only one property for the purpose of making it clear and simple and easy to understand, all right? So imagine you are that person that is now going to buy that property off plan. How do you make 100% from a real estate transaction like that? Now, you see, the developer, when they put out a project and they're selling off plan, usually they'll ask for a 10% deposit. Sometimes it's 5% in some jurisdictions. In some jurisdictions, actually, far lower than that. But anyway, 10%, all right? So they'll be looking for investors that are going to buy off plan to put up a minimum of 10%. You can actually put up 50%, 90% if you have it, but I'm only going to illustrate on 10%. So you are the investor, you go and secure that, you put in 10% deposit. All right, now we're going to make this illustration imagining that each one of these units on completion will be worth $100,000. And also the illustration is based on an assumption that the developer starts off at a price, an offer price of $100,000. Because as the development takes off, as the sales take off and they keep selling the properties, I mean the units off plan, the the chief aim of the developer is to sell at least 60 or 70% of the units of plan. Okay? And so if they sell that, they can then go to a bank, all right, and show the bank or a funding institution that, hey, you know what, we've got this project, we've done sales, our sales have taken off, and we've already done 60, 70% of the sales. The remaining part of the units, if it's 60, the remaining 40 or 30% of the units will be sold off maybe over another period of 1 year or 18 months or whatever the case may be. And so most funding institutions will probably set up and fund a project like this where the sales have already taken off, 60%, 70% already done off plan. Needless to say, at this point, the developers are able or can at that point materialize the option agreement and get title to it depending on how they're structured on how to purchase that piece of land. So that is what takes place here, and that is the illustration that we're going to be making here, that the offer price when the project starts at $100,000. And so 10% of $100,000, if you place that as a deposit, your balance, if you go all the way to completion, you will pay $90,000 in installments. Maybe you will pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 installments that the developer is willing to take from you. All right, it depends. Every project is different. Some projects only take 3 installments, and so on. Some can stagger that. You can pay every month for a period of 36 months. So on this illustration, we're not going to go all that way because you will be making money on a quick turnaround time of a period of maybe 3 months. How? This is what happens. So you've placed 10% deposit, your balance is $90,000. Now what the developer does, he will put out enough material, marketing material, to get enough sales going, all right? And the early bird transactional offer in that sales program is that if you come in between the open day of the sales program to perhaps the first 30 days or the first 45 days, you will be able to purchase the price at $100,000. After 30 or 45 days or 60 days, as the case may be, they may increase the price to $110,000. So in other words, the prices will increase by 10%. All right, this is designed to encourage as many people as possible to buy property off plan so that the 60-70% is achieved within the month, within the 45 days or the 60 days, whatever the case may be. And so the property prices will increase by 10% in that period, say 30 or 45 days, maybe 90 days in some cases. So the offer price was $100,000. You placed a 10% deposit. You own $90,000 in the contract, all right? And so after the 30-45 days, that is the offer price that the developer is now selling, all right? Now, it is at this point that if you are a smart real estate investor, that you cash in, okay? And there's a way to structure that contract. There's actually 2 words that you actually need to put in the contract. We'll do another video for that. We're going to sell some XTEM to show you what 2 words you need to put in the contract to allow you to be able to do this. But anyway, so the property prices have increased to 110%. And so you then can sell your contract to the investors that would have come in after 30, 45 days. In other words, those people, the late comers, all right? So the late comers come in, they find that most people bought off plan, maybe all these were bought off, and so the only remaining properties are just a few properties. And if you were strategic, some of these units, it was a corner property, or it had a view towards some ocean or something like that. If you're an early bird, those are the things to go out to go and look out for. in order for you to, but whatever the case may be, you now can sell off your property or your contract, all right, and make 100%, and I'll be showing you that. But in most cases, by the time you'll be selling, the developer would have sold out all the units off plan with the customary 10% deposit. All right, so you go back to your agent and say, hey, Mr. Agent, Mrs. Agent, I want to sell off my contracts or my contract. Do you still have people that are interested? Usually they have tons of people on their database that will be interested in the property. In fact, most people will only jump in when the sales have taken off. Why? It's a question of faith. Another day for that video. But most people never ever buy on the open day. They will probably buy 30, 60, 90 days later when the prices have gone up. That's just the way it is. So when you now come and sell off your property at $110,000, what happens is that the person buying that contract will be paying 110, all right? Because the property prices have gone up by 10%, all right? So you're selling at 110%. I mean, sorry, at $110,000, each one of those units that you secured. Now, how did you make the 100% profit? I'll show you. It's easy, because if you then come and take out your deposit that you placed, your 10% deposit, all right, and you take out the increase of 10%, you've basically made 100%. Because remember, you'd put in 10,000, so the 10,000 will be paid back to you, plus the 100,000, plus the 10,000 increase. So 10,000, this is what 10,000 in, rather 10,000 out, 10,000 in, that's $20,000. Okay, now that's a no-brainer. That's 100% profit. That is how you make 100%. Now that's gross, okay? Because if you're an amateur, you really don't know how to do these transactions, you'll probably pay an attorney X amount of fees, maybe 3% of that as a fee to help you structure the contract. Maybe the agent will also take in a sales fee, and so that is gross that you're dealing with. Even if you're an amateur, you shouldn't make less than 70% profit on that. But if you've been doing these transactions over time, you'll get to learn how to work with the agents so that they don't take a lot of fees out of you, and you'll know how to eliminate the attorneys and do your own contracts, more especially if you have a legal mind. All right. Now, I've been doing some of these transactions for quite a while, so I do my own contracts, and so there we are. We squeeze out enough juice in the transactions and make as much as we, as the case may be, sometimes 90, sometimes 95%, sometimes 98% profit. Now, you say, oh, only 20,000. Yeah, well, if the development was large and you probably bought 10 of these units, you can 10x that, and then that is 200,000 that you've made. And if it was quite a large development, you bought 100 units, that would be $2 million that you would have made. So that is how we do this. The turnaround time, the typical turnaround time average is about 90 days. Sometimes this can stretch out to 120 days. And so that is how we do it. And those that partner with us in these transactions are then paid a dividend, or what we call a reward, and everyone goes back home very happy. So that said, another video we're going to explain how we do other transactions in the real estate industry, where you can make 50, 70% profit in less than a month. That's another video for another day. I just wanted to illustrate this that got so many people asking questions. Now, there's another question that people ask. Why then don't you have, why don't you have that contract on your website because I want to read the contract. Well, we don't put these contracts on the website. First of all, they do have certain confidential information that the developer themselves might not want us to put out on the website because it's a private contract, and we ourselves do not want to put out that on the website with the wrong timing before we've secured the units. So once the units are secured, the contract is running, what you will see on our website are the pictures of the actual development and the details of the actual development without the contract, because it is a private contract that we get into. Why? Because if that was the offer price and we are back buying, we could go to the developer, instead of paying the open price of $100,000 because it's a bulk buy, we might negotiate to buy at $95,000 a unit, thereby picking another $5,000 in the transaction. And no developer would want you to go and display that on some website, because it might discourage the guy that is only buying 1 unit or 2 units. Everybody will now go and start haggling for a discount. All right, so basically that is why we do it. And of course, there is other materials, other clauses in the contract that the developer might not want us to make public, and that is why it is a private contract. It is not on the website. Okay, so get started. If you've never done this, you can try this yourself. It's a no-brainer. We even do have a video on our Temcoin website. You can go to tem-coin.com. There's a video that explains how we do this transaction. Anyone can do this, and like I always say, my grandmother can actually do this. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next video.